let's have a period chat about Red Bull's second seat. Red Bull are a team that's had some serious talent in their cars over their 20-year history in Formula 1. Sebastian Vettel and Max Verstappen, for example, the two drivers who are responsible for winning all 8 of Red Bull's F1 World Drivers' Championship titles. They had Daniel Ricciardo, whose career kinda went downhill after he left the team, but at Red Bull he still claimed 7 race wins and a slew of podiums. They had Mark Webber, who albeit also never achieving the championship, he came close in 2010 and he was a quick multiple-time race winner for the team. I bring up Ricciardo and Webber in regards to a couple of non-championship winning talents Red Bull have had specifically because they were both parts of lineups at Red Bull where nobody really fell off and struggled, if you will. Sure, Sebastian Vettel's final year at Red Bull, his first with Ricciardo for teammates, it was not at the same heights of his years with Mark Webber, but he didn't fall off badly, and my point remains that a Red Bull where neither driver is struggling is not something Red Bull have really had the last couple of years. Pierre Gasly struggled in the second seat. Alex Albon was okay at first, but then he soon struggled in the same seat. Then came Sergio Perez, who was decent to begin with, but then he fell away and started struggling in 2023. Struggles he never really recovered for at the Austrian team, albeit being decent in the opening races of 2020. Liam Lawson then got brought in, but after a tough opening 12 weekend to the season, he was given the boot back to Racing Bulls in favour of Yuki Tsunoda, who we'll come back to later. How is it that it seems whatever has gone into that second Red Bull seat these last years, really since Ricciardo left, has ended up struggling? It's not the drivers, because Sergio Perez was not a bad driver. Just take a look back at his time with Force India / Racing Point, a midfield team that he was usually always good at providing some solid results for them. A handful of podium finishes as well, and he gave them their highest ever finish in the driver's standings in 2020 with 4th. He got the Silverstone-based team their first win since 2003 when they were still Jordan after he gave a great drive for the back by the end of lap 1 to the first at the flag. Yes, the 2020 car was arguably the best car they had across the season. I'm sure we all remember that whole pink Mercedes thing, but my point stands. He is not a bad driver. He was really solid when he joined Red Bull to begin with as well. He was usually hanging around the top 5, he took race wins, he kind of proved a little instrumental in Red Bull winning that driver's title in 2021. Controversy of Abu Dhabi aside. There's rumours he'll come back next year with Cadillac, which would be cool to see, but moving on. Pierre Gasly, similar to Checo, is not a bad driver. Like Checo, he's a solid midfielder. Won a race, of course, also in 2020. Yeah, got lucky with the timing of the safety car and the red flag and Hamilton's stop-go, but by all accounts, the McLaren that he ended up fighting for the win and was chasing him was a better car and probably should have been able to pass him, but Sainz couldn't because Gasly was just driving really well and he did enough to stay ahead. He's also put in some great results for Alpine the last couple of seasons in cars that really weren't brilliant. He was perhaps just promoted too early to Red Bull and then wasn't really given much of a chance when he was there. Albon is another one who's better than his second Red Bull seat stint would have you believe. Since he came back in 2022, he's proved a solid driver for Williams to have, and he's been holding his own against Sainz so far, who many thought was going to outperform the Thai driver and kind of stamp his authority as the new #1 driver at Williams. It takes time to get used to a new team, a new PU supplier, yes, but my point stands that Albon is still heading strong in that Williams car. There's nothing much really to say on Liam Lawson other than, similarly to Gasly, I think he was just promoted way too early and then he just wasn't given a chance once he was there. But then we come to the man currently in that second seat, Yuki Tsunoda. Tsunoda the last few seasons has proven himself as a solid team leader at AlphaTauri, who many thought had earned himself a shot at the top team. And he had earned it. I mean, he had points on debut in that final race of 2021 on the last lap while everybody had their eyes glued to the front of the grid. Tsunoda was busy dispatching a Bottas for 4th place. He's had more solid results since then, i.e. he's not a bad driver. Tsunoda is solid. But now he's in that second Red Bull seat. Well, he hasn't exactly been setting the world alight so far. He's also been seemingly struggling a bit in the second car. He's been a ways off Max in qualifying pace, and that being further down the field in qualifying means he's only been able to fight for the lower reaches of the top 10 in terms of the race. Of course, the time gap in qualifying doesn't always tell the whole story, like like, say, the time gap in Bahrain, that was only a difference of 3 or 4 places, which in reality isn't that bad, but in all, it's not been great for Yuki. He was probably closer to Max in the damn Racing Bulls than he is in the Red Bull, quite frankly. Now, there is something to be said about the fact that the driver these guys have been gone up against is Max Verstappen, who is a formidable opponent to hit across the garage for you. But then there's the car, which is I think the main culprit here, and that Max, over the years he's been with the team, has just learned how to best drive the Red Bull cars to get the best results he can, even when the car is difficult to drive, which it seems to be. If that best result is 6th in Bahrain, 4th in Monaco, 1st in Japan, 2nd in Australia, Max has been able to make up for a difficult to drive, not as good car, put in some brilliant qualifying laps, and his teammates maybe haven't always been able to do so, you know, make up for the bad car, put up with it, perform in it, if you will. There is also the fact that, for what I can find out, it seems that the Red Bull car is designed with a stronger front end, which is what Max Verstappen likes, and that also perhaps just isn't as easy for others to adapt to. So how can Red Bull stop the trend of their second driver ending up struggling? Well, I'm no expert, that should go without saying, but designing a car that more than just Max Verstappen can drive might be a good starting point. They'll need to do that, especially if there's a risk of said Dutchman leaving the team. That's talk we're all tired of hearing about, but it's not gonna fully go away until Red Bull prove that they're worth Max staying with till the end of his contract in 2028. Because I stand by my opinion that if Max leaves Red Bull, right now, they're screwed in the short term. But if you can make a car that's not as difficult to drive per se, a car where both drivers are able to find a way to perform in it, surely that can only be beneficial for the team. So they binned Checo and brought in Liam because Checo was struggling. Then they binned Liam and brought in Yuki because Liam was struggling. And now Yuki seems to be struggling too, and if this continues and Yuki doesn't improve, if he kind of find a way to work with the car, which, as I say, we kind of is the real culprit here causing all this, and if Red Bull don't get their crap together and realize that it's not the drivers, it's the car is the problem, and they don't fix that, they find themselves wanting to replace Tsunoda, where do they go? What do Red Bull do? Do they turn to Isaac Hadjar and hope he doesn't befall the same fate? Do they look outside of the Red Bull program again, like they did for 2021 when they brought Checo in? Do they go after Lando Norris again? Do they try and convince Mark Webber to bring Oscar Piastri over to Red Bull? Do they go for someone else entirely? Honestly, who knows what Red Bull do if Tsunoda ends up befalling the same fate. But in all, as much as I'm hoping Tsunoda can be the one to change the tune of the second seat, it is not looking likely that that'll happen unless Red Bull can get their shit sorted with the damn car. If they cannot sort their crap with the car, the second seat mess is just going to keep continuing onwards. I fear no matter what they put in that car. A wall for the drivers, we did of course just hit the Spanish Grand Prix, which introduced those flexi wing technical directive changes, but it seems that Red Bull and Ferrari and that were banking a bit on that, allowing them to close up to McLaren, but that hasn't exactly happened. So far at least, it doesn't look like anything is changed with it. It's a bit like when you see a leaf on the ground, you expect to make a crunch sound when you step on it, but then when you do step on it, nothing happened. You're like, oh, well, that was underwhelming. And just to close this off, we have a couple of notes on Red Bull and Verstappen and that on the Spanish Grand Prix. What the hell was Max doing in those last 6 laps? And what was he going on about Charles rammed into him on the straight? The only one that rammed into anyone was when Max rammed into George at turn 5, which is crap you just do not want to see happening. What Max did at T5 was not on, and the penalty was justified. Frankly, it wouldn't have surprised me if he got a harsher penalty, but he got 10 seconds for it and it dropped him to P10. Just to note, Max Verstappen made this post on Instagram kind of acknowledging that what he did, it shouldn't have happened, so at least it's good he acknowledged that it shouldn't have happened. In hindsight, Red Bull did not need to ask Max to give the place back, and also in hindsight, they should have left Verstappen out on those huge softs opposed to pitting him for new hards when that safety car came out. But it's too late to change their choices now, and it's all choices that's left Max just 1 penalty point away from a ban until the 30th of June, when his first point starts expiring. So he has to be on his best behavior in Canada and in Austria. Even then, after them 12 points expire, it'll still leave him on 9 out of 12 points until the 27th of October. What are your thoughts on Red Bull and their second seat? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new around here. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.